Starting in three, two, one. We're live.
We're live.
Awesome.
All right. Ay, 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 ay. I feel good today. How are you feeling, Asif?
Oh, ay, 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 ay. I just woke up. It feels like I needed that, kind of like a coffee shot, you know. So espresso. Ay, 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 ay. Let's go get it done. Let's do it.
Yeah. Today we have a special guest, Chris Galleta. He's for a special day too. Today's our 30th, at least not recording, but our release. So he's here for at least a special milestone, and it's a great day to have such a milestone with a fantastic guest today. We're speaking with Chris, and He's one of what I consider leading the field of AI development for BMI, and he's an enthusiast, AI enthusiast, developer, and he can give us a lot of insight and foresight in what it takes to really know what AI is, and he's doing some tremendous work. So, without any further ado, Chris, thank you for joining us today on our podcast and giving us a little bit more of what you do in the life of Mr. Galleta.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you so much for introducing me, and I'm really happy to be here. So thanks so much.
So, Chris,
So, oh, go ahead.
yeah, Chris, you bring a subject matter expertise to the table,
Mhm.
and we have tons of interest in it, right? Um, but like me and you've been talking, and we've talked about a few topics, and but I'll let Lucky start with his questioning because we have a series of questions for you, and we want to hear your insights and maybe things that we don't know, but somebody out there who is interested in these topics will get started from your answers. So, Lucky, what sort of questions do you have?
Well, I don't want to reach into what I have to reach a little bit back into what I've done to kind of the past 2 or 3 to 5, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I developed not algorithms. I worked as a SQL developer, and I designed data warehouses, and I put together some algorithms, some SQL code to analyze disease states. Anyway, long story short, that back what I did was more like linear regression. It was more statistical. It was hard. All the values were hard values, or if anything, it was just applying statistics to SQL databases.
Mhm.
Now that was back in 2004. Now machine learning. I'm sorry, machine learning has grown immensely, and in the past 3 to 5 years, this is your field. So my question is, what algorithms, and without getting too technical, what have you seen grow more in the ML AI space and algorithms that help lead to what you do now in BMI and not so much large language models, but in more in what you do now?
Sure, sure. Okay, so first of all, I feel kind of, you know, stressed out. This is my first time speaking this kind of thing, doing it live. So I will do my best on trying to explain this.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, so I started first with the NLP stuff. I was requested to be helping on developing an app, making people to access easily how to learn a new language, for example. So I was
Wow.
working for a NUCA that was a startup in the United States. They were into um, teaching people how to learn new languages. So we were more into the development of this application using traditional natural language processing. At that moment, you had to do more like the name of this kind of algorithms is Markov chains, something like that. So what we were trying to look was what is around certain words, finding context, and that way we were mapping things. So if we were looking at a verb, we were looking at a noun, stuff like that, and that was pretty good. Was giving us really good insights. It was really complicated to get 100% accuracy. Of course, every time we're working with machine learning or AI, it's really complex to get 100% accuracy. But it was tougher back then, just because um, we were lacking on context. We were just trying to find information from certain stuff. Like, okay, I can just get which kind of or parts of the sentence I have. But right now, it has evolved a lot. So at the moment, I was just like, this is really new for me. I don't know anything,
Mhm.
and they taught me, hey, you need to use your skills to try to find out how to create new ways to make this easier. Because
Mhm.
as we were working on an application on the cloud, we were requested um, to find new ways to solve problems in a way that it doesn't take so much time. So at the moment, what was hot at the moment was just GPT-2. We're right now in the 4, right? But we were
Mhm.
like, okay, this is really interesting. How can we integrate this into our solutions that we were doing? Because at the moment we have this really cool, and I say cool because it started everything from me.
Yeah.
We were requested on finding a way to reduce the amount of time machines were taking to say us, hey, this is the root of the word. So let's say I have running, I have run. The root of that will be run, like
Mhm.
I'm running on the street. So it was really tough because there were not so much resources out there. This was a really new field. At the moment, I was just like, okay, what should I do next? So I just went to YouTube as everybody else, and there was a really interesting guy from India talking about these topics, and he was like, "Hey, today has been released this new article which it says transformers, and everyone was like, okay, this is really new, this is really hot. What the heck is a transformer, and how can I use it to use it on this specific field, and also to resolve this specific topic that I was requested." So I started learning everything, and I went in a run like 3 months on research and development on this specific company. And they were like, okay, how has been your progress? And I was like, okay, this is really tough. I need to learn a lot of things. So one specific algorithm that took from all the others, which has been evolving a lot. Of course, it's different right now. It's not the same, but at the moment was word to vector stuff. So the most important thing, or the most advanced, uh, let's say the one that I believe it's more important for us to work with, is the ability to make computers understand um, this thing. Like you do comparisons between objects. You can quantify it in numbers. It has a word in Spanish, but I also forgot it just because I'm kind of nervous right now. But what it does is like, okay, you have two different things, and let's say you have a glass of water, you have car, and each individual word in some way on a really high dimensional space is like mapped. So for example, you can say and do comparisons with them. I believe that the easiest one it would be like comparing queen and women. So what's the difference between a queen to a woman? We already know because of language that it's because one has royalty and the other is not. But the idea here is that we create these kind of comparisons using numbers. So it's just making a word into a number. That just changed everything because it helped us to do a lot of computational things on it. So it has evolved a lot. Learning from how to use it has also created for us a way to
Mhm.
express more using natural language processing. And by the way, just for you to know, what happened when I learned word to pick? Well, that just started different parts of my development. So I started working with translation machines. I was working with one that was translating from English to French. Started using kind of yeah, these word to vectors, but also powering it with some architecture on sorry, in so- I, I just forgot the name. Some architecture on the neural networks.
Okay.
So there are some specific neural networks that are really good when we talk about, for example, encoders and decoders are really helpful for creating um, translation machines
Mhm.
because we are just getting the most important features from one specific word or sentence, and then we translate it or pass it to the other language.
The other language, yeah.
So yeah, it has evolved a lot, but the most important one I would say it's the word to vector, which later evolved into embeddings. And for people who are hearing us and might say, "Hey, what the heck? What is that?" It's just translating and converting words into numbers and making that um, to help us to create comparisons between words. So yeah, that will be like most important thing that I believe it
Yeah.
evolved.
This is like seeing history come to
Hmm.
uh, 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 being described by an expert, right? Amazing stuff. Like, love how you are able to walk us through all this difficulty, and I think this difficulty makes sense once you see the future behind it. Like,
Hmm.
further you can look back in the past, further you can see into the future, and the future that I see right now as you speak is the future that, what, we realize how bad our language is. Like, we
Yeah,
need a AI language to teach us how we should actually use those English words and sentences, so that way, what, we have a better vocabulary for each word, and we use those in a particular way that it makes sense to everybody who speaks English, or everybody who speaks French, or everybody who speaks Korean, whatever the case is, that each language is highly effective, and it becomes more like of you can't code it anymore, right? It's just a communication for the purpose of communication, not for entertainment between two individuals, right? English that I understand, also other English speakers understands, right? Because in English, it happens that you call it a soda, a pop, people will say, I have no idea what just happened, right? But for some people, pop is pop. There's no
Yeah.
way of calling it soda anymore for them, because that's how evolved they are in their own language. Now, that's the future piece of it. I want to go back a little bit into the history, because the difficulty of starting with encoding and decoding and not having LSTM, the long and short term memories, to say, how do we create a context vector? How do we create that run on sentence, and have that run-on sentence, decode into a Spanish language without the difficulty of, translating it from one language to English, and English to the next language, right?
Hmm.
So that transformer stuff that we're talking about here is highly critical, because that transformer is a game changer.
yeah,
That game changer that allowed you to have a very little latency. So when you're translating, it's happening in real time. And as it's happening in real time, today, in these days, we are talking about teaching a language to somebody who doesn't speak the language today. But because it's real time, they will learn the language a lot faster. But now, here's my future side of things again, right? As we speak, how do we correct ourselves far faster in real time? And let my imagination run a little bit wild here, right? These labeling process that we have in our cortical columns in our brain, those cortical columns are very wide, but they're not utilized highly, right? How do we augment a machine to help us with better vocabulary, better language wording choices, right? So that way the machine, not I'm not talking about real time, I'm talking about this machine is augmenting us faster than real time, to say, as you communicate a Asif, you want to utilize this word, because this is what makes the most sense out of the context where
Hmm.
and this is the fast AI I'm talking about. This is that run your imagination wild AI, one that's inside of your brain, is augmenting you to speak a language not only clearly, but with the intention of the audience who's listening, right? Because in certain circle, I heard the conversation that and language is a conspiracy between two persons,
Hmm.
right? So it's a conspiracy that's happening between two persons, but a third person might not understand it. Well, that's not good, right? We want everybody to understand it, even if you're from Alabama or New York, right? We want you to understand it. So I think in the future we will have those capabilities. Say, like, if you are in a room with somebody who speaks Korean, you want to be able to articulate the language this way, so the person who speaks Korean can also understand it, because in real time, in our augmented brain, the translation is happening in real time. And I'll give you one example why it's not a running wild with the imagination. Cisco WebEx does that today, right? They're able to take your speech, translate this in real time into almost 30 different languages. So
Whoa.
anybody who's listening to your speech right now, they're able to see the subtitles, the subtitles also, yeah,
Yeah,
subtitles
speech to
of what,
text.
yeah, speech to text, whatever you're saying, it's translating in real time, and somebody can understand you. But how do we take it to the next future level, right? That conversation is happening in real time, and your brain is being augmented to not only make it easier for you to communicate, but for somebody else who's listening to make it easier for them to understand.
Oh yeah, totally. I
Great,
would
great topic.
I will also add them to that that not because I use the right words, you might understand me the same way I'm speaking. Because
Hmm.
sometimes I'm trying to make things clear or try to express certain things, and it's not the same way I can experience reality as the way you are doing. So even using the right words for making the other people to understand them is really.
Hmm.
But right now it's more I think because we can train a machine to understand us better in a way that, hey, do you know you are using this kind of or set of words? It's more like a semantical context. So which of these specific words that you use the most express what the other person wants you to share with you? So it makes more sense. So
Hmm.
it can be done now. Of course, I believe maybe WebEx is not doing it, but it's totally possible to do so. Only that we will require to have our own set of words that we use the most. So it happens for me. I'm not an English speaker or native.
Hmm.
I'm more. I was born in Mexico, by the way, and the way I use English is like, okay, I can express different ideas and complex ideas, but it's not like I know everything or I use all those words
Hmm.
so commonly, you know. So in order for other person to maybe project to me what they try to say, I would need to do more like an effort. But I can also understand them if they say, "Hey," but it's like the same as you were feel the same thing you will feel if you were hearing this in Spanish, or you would expressing this on the words you know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll give you an example. I'm like you. Okay, I grew up speaking Spanish only, but I was born in America, but my father only speaks English. I mean Spanish.
Hmm.
He speaks English only to get his driver's license, and that's about it, right? So whenever I'm having conversations with my father, I can have conversations with my father about the sky, about the birds, about life, about family. But the minute and then okay, no, so let's just switch to my okay now the way I live. I'm a cybersecurity guy. I'm a technologist. We'll just leave it at that. I'm a technology guy. I can explain all the stuff that I do in technology to my father.
Right.
Like I'm like, es porque pa. I try to tell him, okay, Dad, this is a virus. This is bad. This is the internet is this. Now I'll reason my way through it and I'll get to it. But it's not like I can reach into it like I reach into it just talking one way or another. English, IT all day. Spanish, life. But it's hard to mix the two.
Yeah,
Yeah. Describe in Spanish layer six, please.
Yeah, layer six. Oh my goodness. Es porque no, I give up. I give up. In English, home run. In Spanish, I can do it. But like to say layers, you would say niveles. Hay siete niveles
Right.
de computación. Oh, it would be hard. It would be hard. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally understand what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. This is why language is the greatest gift of humanity. Yet we have to
Hmm.
perfect it, and we are still working on perfecting it because
Hmm.
it's happening slowly in our lifetime versus any other previous generation. We would I mean, previous generation will be bewildered. They did a time travel and came and saw us using a microphone, the little tiny things in our hand to make communications worldwide.
Hmm.
But what they will not understand how far our language has evolved in a short period of few decades, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine just within 20 some years, our language. I mean, first of all, if you use the word psych in 2023, people might look at you weirdly. But when I was growing up, saying psych was the coolest thing ever, right? Like, oh my God, you can say psych and you can actually turned it into a part of your communication. Now they'll just call me weirdo, right? Like, what is
What
that?
is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? Why are you calling psych? But like that's the power of internet, right?
Mhm,
Because our language is actually getting back to the baseline of what needs to be said, what needs to be communicated, and how do
mhm,
you make it as short as possible so you're actually conveying not just the urgency of the communication, but what needs to be said without using too many zeros and ones, right? Like, say for example, LOL, OMG, right?
mhm.
Like, you can talk about how a forefather like Lincoln will do a time travel and come to the US and say like, wow, look at that phone you have in your hand, that's crazy. And then you start using these acronyms like OMG and LOL, then that guy loses it real bad. Like, kill me again please and send me back in time. I don't want to live in this time frame. But I think we're going through that process, and we are baselining to a level that makes me really happy. That what used to be like, I had to learn English myself, right? I had
Mhm.
to learn English around age 14. um, I can tell you grammatically, like grammar was uh, the worst possible part of learning the language. You can say all the phrases from the movie Scarface, right? You can say all the phrases from the movie Half Baked with Dave Chappelle, right? Because you're mimicking. Yet when you have to convey a message without mimicking and use proper grammar to convey the message, and I'll give you one perfect example for an English speaker like myself. The word OWE, you owe me, I owe you, it's not that simple for somebody who's trying to learn the language.
I
Because
agree.
it was for me, like I could not figure
Mhm.
out how to say that word "oh." Like, you do what? Like, that's the difficulty of learning a language, because the
Mhm.
grammar is so different from your grammar sets, right? The grammar sets that you're used to. So I see Chris shaking his head. So yeah, Chris.
Mhm.
um, like now that we are describing languages here, and we talk a little bit about brain. you know NLP is the set that we are perfecting very well, and it's proving itself through Chat GPT and all the other use cases of other GPT generative pre-trained transformers. Um, what's next? Like, what do you see the future? What's that one coming down the pipeline that you're
Yeah.
excited
Hmm. Interesting question. I believe that it will have to be something involving your brain, to be
about?
honest.
There you go. Love it.
Because as I was mentioning, we have our own set of words, and that describes for us our own reality. And trying to communicate with others depends so much on how we express and that specific set of words to be, you know, easily integrated or accessed through us. But the way that we could later express ourselves using also our brain will be a totally game changer because imagine you don't have not needing even to try to express things by text, only by feeling them or thinking them, and according to those specific feelings and what you're also experiencing on your brain, trying later to express that to the other person, saying, hey, do you know that specific moment on your life when you were feeling this specific thing? Okay, this specific person is looking at it or feeling it at this specific moment. And I believe that will be like the next level of communication that maybe is not so far from our future. Just because, as I was mentioning, we were creating and making the machines to learn, and I found the word. It's making analogies.
Yeah, I love
So
Analogies.
it.
when we create or let the machines understand our own analogies using what we have at the moment, which are numbers, we can do almost everything. Right now, I was like getting out of my head when I was looking at GPT-4, that is a language model, supposed to be a language model, is also able to understand images. And I was like, okay, why does that happen? Because an image is a visual representation of something, and it's also a grid of pixels, you know?
Yep.
But how do you convert that into something meaningful for the machine to understand and also put it in other contexts and also to speak from it and say, hey, I know what is this. This is a picture of a puppy or whatever. Is because we are teaching the machines to do analogies using what we have at hand. So the next level would be saying, hey, okay, now I want to do an analogy or try to compress a feeling or something that I have in my own brain, and then I can also express it to other persons. And it's up to, I don't know, we would see in the future how this evolves, but we are almost compressing everything. This also happened, and because it's evolving so fast because of these analogies, that's
Hmm.
why I said, hey, this is the most important feature that has come to life. Of course, this might get complex for people who might never been here. I'm looking at your face, Lucky. I don't know if that makes sense,
No,
but
no. But isn't that called K means?
the K
Uh,
means no,
the
no, no.
no.
It's
Or-
it's
Okay, were
even
you clustering the? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. It's getting even further because K means yeah, it's used for a lot of things like getting clusters, yes, getting to see if a specific point or data uh, behaves as a category or as a thing. So let's say if I want to categorize a car,
Hmm.
maybe I will use k-means according to their features. So if it's looking in the front in some way, I can say, hey, it might be a BMW. Yeah, it's BMW.
Yeah,
It's
gotcha.
BMW or Volkswagen.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
depends. So yeah, it was a thing using machine learning to create correlationships, and we were creating our own vectors using some
Oh.
features. So at the moment we were saying, hey, if this has a feature, let's say has this space between, I don't know, the lights, so it might be this car. But if it's also having some space around, I don't know, I don't know how much a lot about cars, so I can't express so well in English, but you know what I mean. So if it's
Mhm,
different in the front or it has something in the back, okay. So those are features, and
mhm.
those features are creating for you a vector. That vector equals to a result, which would be BMW, Volkswagen, Audi, depends, you know.
Right.
So right now, what we are trying to do is like, okay, let's create a vector for everything, on words, on
Mhm,
pictures, on sounds, on videos, on whatever we have, and that way we are expressing or giving it a meaning. So the future, which I'm looking at, is that okay, we also convert into vectors our own feelings, our own things, thoughts, sorry, and then we can express with more variety than we do today, because it's not the same trying to text things sometimes.
mhm.
And I have to be honest with you guys, when I had COVID, when this hit us, it hit us really
Mhm.
hard. In my case,
Oh.
it didn't help me so much. I have even struggles speaking just because of that, and those are sequels from me. But the way that I can express things or try to talk with other people, it's really different. In a way that okay, I need to find words that resonate with my audience. So for example, on you guys, because I know that you might not be in this field, and it's totally understandable. Not everybody learns, and it's on every field. It's completely cool. That's what makes us diverse. But I need to find words to express the same things that I want to say from my field to you. So the same way you were mentioning, okay, how can I say level 6? It's pretty tough, but
Mhm,
you can do analogies to try make other people to understand them. So
mhm.
it has just taught me, because it has get tougher for me to speak on. Okay, so if we do this or I do this to try to express myself, how can I do it also for machines? So yeah, it's a big thing here. I don't know if that makes sense for you guys, or you follow.
No, yeah, Chris, you're doing a great job. Everything's translating perfect. You're not everything's completely crystal clear understood. But I had a question, and only from our conversation when we first, before we started the production,
Mhm.
can you tell us a little bit more about your experience, what you've done, and your travels recent. You say you just got back. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you were involved with here recently?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, so I got back from Japan about 3 months ago. Yeah, sometime around it, because it was like an internship. It ended on July. It was my second time getting into Japan. My first time was in September. So I was finishing college, right? And I was in a company. It was long term, but somehow somebody told me, "Hey, there's an opportunity to get a scholarship to go to Japan and learn about neuroscience and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh my god, That's pretty cool. So I just said, well, what would happen? Because at the moment, there were not so many people getting into Japan because you need a visa. At the moment, we had COVID, and also the time from people to for people to apply to this specific scholarship wasn't ended. But this guy that was my best friend, we grew up in the same university. A long story because that might be from another day. I just had to move from university, so I changed. Uh, I was not even living the same place he was living, but anyway, he was
Wow.
going to Japan, and he told me, "Hey, guy, right now there's an opportunity for you. There's one more space. Would you like to try one?" And just call them and try to see if you can get here. And I was like, "Well, what could go wrong? I already have a no." So I just applied. I sent a resume, and they were really impressed because I did a really cool job in this company that I was mentioning you. I did a text to code. So you were texting things and you were creating code without using GPT, which was a really good achievement for me back then. And they were like, "Oh my god, you did this without using generative pre-trained transformers. What did you use?" And I was like, "Hey, I used other tools that are around in the market that are even easier to use and faster to use." That had to do with the thing that I did on the research I was mentioning back then. So I said, yeah, I won't use at the moment GPT-2 or GPT-3, which was at the specific time the most
Mhm.
hot thing. I would use this to create my text to cipher. That was for doing some queries on SQL, but not SQL. Was more for graph databases. Long story,
Mhm.
but they were like really impressed and say, "Hey, do you want to come to Japan? We can give you some scholarship, about 25% of scholarship on discounts." Sorry, I'm like, "Oh my god, that's really cool." So that was my first time getting to Japan. My university even helped me. I was studying online all my life, but in specific part of my life, it was like, "Hey, you got a scholarship to go to Japan. That's really cool and really sick. We want to tell that our university student is going to Japan. So yeah, we are paying your flight." And I was like, "Oh my god, thanks so much."
Wow.
It gave me a lot of discounts, and that reduced the amount of money I had to pay because going to Japan is not something that is feasible for everyone, and I have to be really grateful for everybody who put a coin to my journey. So once I got to Japan, I was really impressed because the people who were inviting me were experts on neuroscience, specifically on BMIs, which is brain machine interfaces. They were integrating it to robots, and I remember the first time I met them was it was not a convention. It's a place where a lot of people gather and they share. This is my my speak.
Community of interest or
Community,
labs,
yeah,
something.
It
a
would be
brain
like
trust. And
so. I don't know how to
Social
explain
gathering.
it, but yeah, they gathered together,
yeah,
and this guy went there and was like, "Hey, I can move a third arm with my brain." And we were like, "Oh my god, that's super sick!" And he was like juggling stuff and using a third arm to grab a bottle and then do some crazy stuff. And I was like, "How do you do it?" So when we got to Japan, they were like, "Hey, the way this works is like, yeah, magic, but we have like two different ways to go. First, we can go like Elon Musk, getting into your brain, reading your brain activity, and then map it to some specific activity. So it would be grabbing a bottle or something like that. Or we can use something that is less invasive, is on your head, on a helmet, but with not so great response because it's not the same to have your brain activity inside or read your activity inside from outside because you have a cup and you have everything. It's tougher because you have your skull. Everything is tougher.
hmm
So what they developed was a machine. Of course, there are plenty of them, but it was a machine really cheap for Mexican citizens to get. Or well, not Mexican citizens because it's not like everybody has one in their home, right? But it was more like for
more,
colleges to start
yeah.
learning about this. So it's way cheaper from others. Right now there are cheaper options, but at the moment it was really interesting.
The skull cap, the one that with the wires.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it was multi-purpose. Depending on what you're trying to do, you focus a specific part of your brain. But this was multi-purpose. It was covering almost everything according
hmm
to one. There's something called. I just forgot the name or how to express it. So there's an international units on how to
Mhm.
measure your brain activity. So you put some specific wires on specific parts of your brain, which are pretty millimetric. If you
Mhm.
don't put them in the specific part, you don't get the signal you want, and you get a lot of noise. So they
Yeah.
were using a lot of precise,
Mapping,
yeah,
mapping
mappings,
of yeah.
in that specific hat, because it was
Mhm.
not like a helmet whatsoever. It was more like a hat.
Yeah.
And for example, they have 32, no, yeah, they have 32 options to get from. Other
Wow.
tools, for example, if you want to measure, let's say, concentration, they are more focused on the front part of your head,
Mhm.
and you can't move that. You just have the specific and millimetric um, head length, which focuses on the specific part you need. But if you want to see, let's say, something on the vision part, you
Yeah.
can't, because that's in the back of your head, and you need to really find those sweet spots. If you don't find them, you won't do anything. So we were testing a lot of helmets. My most one of my biggest dreams was learning how our brain works, and
Mhm.
I was able to do that with some workshops. So
Wow.
I just remember being in Japan and one day opening a box. They had a lot of bands, and I say I want to try them all. So I was opening one, which is used. You can put it on your hat. So you have one hat like a baseball hat. You just place it on the back, and it's stuck on your head. And what
Mhm.
it does is like it tried to sync you to a computer.
Mhm.
So when you get into the computer is just like flashing out. So what it does is like it stimulates your eyes, so you are processing or creating a signal on your brain. So depending on what you're seeing, it was like flashing, right? So
Oh.
as it is flashing, and that machine is trying to get like different things on your computer screen. So let's say you have like three objects, and they are flashing in different intensities or lengths or whatever. So if you pay attention to one of it, your brain is going to sync to that specific thing. So then you know you're looking at that specific object. And
Wow.
I
So
was
it's
like,
so it's calibrating a signal from your brain depending on what you're seeing. It's trying to get a signal and calibrating that signal to you. So it's customizing and calibration all at once.
yeah, really tough again because you need to be
Wow.
really into your head. It was hurting just because it needs to be really, really tight. But
Yeah.
there's that was not made from them. I just forgot the name of that specific device, but you just put it on your head. You can play with Unity. You can play and do some crazy stuff. I was doing music because that was like playing testing. So they have
Mhm.
like this big board with a lot of buttons. All of them were syncing in different or sparkling in different intensities. So you were paying attention to one, you were just looking at it, then you let your brain do everything else. So then the machine say, hey, he's paying attention to that specific button that is pressing the drums. So let's start the drums. So you were doing music, and they were like, oh my god, everything is done with my brain. And it were really fun because most of them of the guys that went there, they were into other fields. In my case, I was into artificial intelligence because that was my career, but others were more into robotics, and they were like, okay, so we have different
Mhm.
routes to go when we are looking at your brain. There's something called control, which is trying to mimic or to, let's say, map actions from your real body, like moving an arm or
Mhm.
stuff like that, into uh, a desire. Okay, so my best friend that went to Japan, and he was like super excited because he was like, "Hey, my best friend is here." He was doing some research on how to help people with problems on their knees. So let's say you can't move your knee because you have an accident on your motorbike, okay? And it's really tough for you. You need to do some exercises to rehabilitate yourself, but it's not so easy. It's even boring. So he was like, "Hey, what if we do gamification?" And we try to understand if there's an intention of moving your knee so that when you connect to a specific
Mhm.
device, it helps you to fulfill that specific movement. So what he did was learning how to use control over the knee. So if I move my knee, I know that some specific parts of my brain are
Yeah.
moving, right? Or are like wiring together. Some
Hmm.
specific parts. So he was looking at that. In my case, I was not targeting control. I was targeting the other way, which was more complex. They told me that it was easier, but I just found out that it's way tougher. What has to do with learning about emotions. Of course, you can also target vision, as I was mentioning, to move things. There are already devices that do that, and specific parts of your brain that help you to find vision. There are others which are targeted more on concentration, but mine was just something that I said, hey, I want to be the first one in this company to create something with your feelings, which is really curious, right? Because you say, hey, if I feel something that's super subjective, how can I shape it into something objective and scientific? Well, it turns out that someone in the 60s, imagine that, was um, mapping and creating emotions and saying, hey, so for expressing an emotion, we're going to create a wheel. So imagine a wheel, a normal wheel car or whatever, right? And
Hmm.
saying, okay, if you move to the left, you are targeting emotions which are not so good, right? We're going to call that balance, which has to do, balance has to do with if the emotion is pleasant or not. So if negative balance would be like feeling angry, feeling sad, disgust, stuff like that. And also there are others which say, okay, if that it's like powerful, if you're feeling something that is really really hot, so let's say like an arousal or maybe feeling happy or enthusiastic, okay, that's really really high dominance, which is the word that they use. That is really really powerful emotion, right? So they were doing this wheel. So if you have more dominance, higher valence, well, you might be happy, right? You might
Hmm.
be feeling enthusiastic. But if you have, let's say, really bad, not bad, really low dominance or really low, and let's say it's not good, not bad, but really low dominance,
Hmm.
maybe you're feeling bored. Okay, so depending on what you were feeling, you can say, okay,
Oh.
how can I measure valence on your brain? So there were some specific um, parts of your brain that activate when you are feeling something that is pleasant, that are located on each individual side of your head. So you were saying, okay, I need to look at those signals, and also to know when I'm not feeling anything, I need to do the comparison. And it was really tough for me because the person who was guiding me told me, hey, you need to look at what other people have done because you have limited amount of time. You came here just for 3 months and you can get a lot of data from the field. Let's say why, because imagine I was needing to create um, experiments with people not feeling anything at all and then provoking them to feel something, and then I would need them to tell me if that was positive, negative, dominant, or not dominant. So he told me, hey, don't go that way. There's already some data sets that you can use. But oh my God, that was the worst thing I did because I would prefer even to work with, let's say, three emotions rather to go with that data set because they were mapping people looking at videos, YouTube videos. Some of
Mhm.
them were really disturbing. Some
Ooh.
other were really good. That those were music videos,
Hmm.
and they were playing like 60 seconds of that music video. So they were listening, let's say, like the Shrek film, that somebody. They were like, "Oh my God, that's Shrek,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody like, "Okay, that's really good." But the problem on doing this was that, well, let's say I started hearing a song that it's really common nowadays here in Mexico, which it's called. Um, I just forgot the name, and it's really popular. It has to do with telling, "Hey, I hate you, but I really hate you because I hate the way you smile. I hate the way you look at me." So
Uh,
this is like really rhetorical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rihanna.
it's not Rihanna. It's Spanish. It's
Okay,
it's
okay, I got you, got
Yeah. It's
it's good.
funny.
you. All right.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's like, "Hey, I hate you because I love you," and it's like
Right.
really contradictory. So
Right.
I was facing this issue because some parts of the songs doesn't mean that if you're feeling something at the beginning, you will feel the same at the end. You know.
Hmm.
So I'll let you know the song, and it doesn't happen on that specific data set. So I had 60 seconds of people feeling a lot of things, and at the end they are saying, "Hey, overall, I feel like this. So it was really tough because I was not helping the
Hmm.
machine to learn, hey, this is the motion you need to focus. And they were like, yeah, but in the middle, I saw that there were other emotions going on. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh God, how can I teach that to a machine? It's really tough. And also, I face another problem because working with brain signals is like working with signals whatsoever. And I was never into signals. I didn't work with signals, so it was like super something completely different for me because I
Hmm.
thought, hey, I need to do average. I need to, and I that's not the way you handle signals. So you want to work with a signal. A signal is going up and it's going down, and sometimes it's in the middle, but it's always isolating, right? If
Hmm.
you do a mean, you will get nothing. It's like, okay, you are just going from highs to lows, and then you're getting anything. You're canceling it out.
I
So it
see.
was really tough. First, because of that, I didn't know how to handle signals. I started learning how to process signals, and also how do I find out the most important part of the song, which is the one you're feeling, and that this at the end you say, hey, yeah, I feel sad. Yeah, you feel sad because at the end it says my mom died or something like that. But it's not the overall expression on that specific song, so it was really tough. So I started doing some progress, learning that when you work with signals, you need to focus on the highs and the lows, and also
Hmm.
the means. Yeah, you can say the means, like the values when you're not feeling anything is like
Yeah.
they are straight. So that's what you need to do when you're working with
Hmm.
break signals. Looking at people when they are like still, and then looking if there are perturbations and how long they last.
Enter, enter null, null, null.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, that just ended up to be one of my greatest challenges up to date. But I ended up doing something cool with it. So my vision was, okay, how can I use emotions and also to do something, because I came here to learn a lot of things. I learned how to use VR and how to use cryptocurrencies, not only crypto but also the smart contracts with NFTs and stuff like that. Which, but then that's a huge parenthesis. Um, Someone when this started, I was I got into fraud. So they took money from me because I was
Oh.
not into what is this? It's yeah, it's cryptocurrencies. You need to work with us, whatever. And I was getting into really really big fraud in a really bad moment. So when I was getting there, I was
Mhm.
like, hey, I want to know exactly what happened there. Why did I lose money? What happened here? Is this everything all about money? So I started knowing about blockchain, and I learned that NFTs is not just creating a good monkey to you to see. It's more than that. It's like a contract in the internet that nobody
Mhm.
can destroy. It's like, okay, yeah, I just seal it and say this thing is from me, or it's just it's much way sorry it's different from what they told me. It's not like,
Mhm.
yeah, you sell, you buy, and then you start making you rich. No, 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 it's something completely different.
Mhm.
So I said, yeah, I want to integrate that no matter how into my project, because I want to, overpass this bad situation that happened to me, but I want also to do something positive and constructively using it.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, how can I integrate BMI, BR, because that's what something that I said, hey, I want to learn it. I don't care. I want to learn it. And also blockchain. So
Blockchain. Wow.
it's not so easy, but
Yeah.
I found a way. I created an environment in which you can draw. So I found, because I was doing some research in field,
Mhm.
asking people in Facebook, which, if you want to find what people think, go into groups, go into comments, and just post something that might offend somebody, and they will just pull everything for you. So I was like, hey, I saw that, yeah, NFTs are a really good thing right now, but I don't see a benefit. And everybody was like, no, it's super cool and whatever. Others were like, yeah, that's right. I don't like it because it's like kind of fraudulent, but I like this specific part of the technology. So I got take notes. Okay, thank you. The same
Mhm.
happened for me when I was like, okay, what I can do with emotions. Okay, I can do art. People do art. I am a musician, by the way. So I was like, okay, maybe I can go into music. which later I found out that it's complex because of that lifestyle. So you can be feeling a lot of things when you are creating. But
Hmm.
let's say that you want to create or express something in a drawing, which is easier for people to do that doing music. So I was looking at people struggling because most of them were like, hey, I don't know how to draw. It's tough for me. I don't know how to express myself using drawings, even though I want to.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, maybe we can use some generative AI there. So I found out that there was something called image to image. It was really hot, and it's like, okay, you can draw something, and using that as an input, you use a description, and then you transfer it into something completely different. And I say, okay, that could help, maybe. So I created that environment thinking, okay, you can draw, even though it's not so good, even if you are not an artist, but you are able to draw whatever you want. And according to that, what was it specifically what you were drawing? It looked like a flower, but is that a flower? So they were giving me some inputs and saying, yeah,
Yeah.
I drew a flower, a really cool flower. And they were like, okay, using that and your image, I will try to do something with generative AI, which was using at the moment Midjourney. I don't remember which version, but it was using Midjourney. And they were like, okay, so using this specific image, that tells me that this specific part of the flower should be here. So I will just use whatever um, Midjourney generates to me to put the same thing that you draw in that specific part of the image. You know what I mean, right? It's just image
Hmm.
to image processing. But then it was it the cool part? How do I integrate emotions? So I was like, okay, if I want the emotions to modify the things that are created, I need to put that or deliver it to the user. So I did two things. First of all, the environment was changing whatsoever. So if you were feeling not so good, I made a survey and say, hey, I found three different. So it's called skyboxes, which were videos and were really high detailed. And say, okay, if you're feeling good, really peaceful or whatever, which resonates more with you? And I fill out with about 20 people and say, hey, that might work. So we said, okay, if you're feeling happy, I will put you this specific environment. If you're not feeling so happy, I can put you this specific environment. So it was changing according to what you were feeling. And later you can still draw, project everything. So you are more focused and say, okay, now I can just put people into the environment using VR, which was really complex for me at the moment because everybody else was doing VR too. So I say, how can I just do it? And then find out that every smartphone has the capability to project things from your computer. You just need to find a specific tool. You project what you're looking at your computer, and then you have VR on your device. And it's cheap. It's not. You don't require an Oculus. So I
Hmm.
say, okay, that's accessible, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
So okay, you're
that's
feeling this way, you're looking at the environment, you're transforming everything on your thoughts, but also the output was modified with it. So I also did a survey. What kind of word styles are the ones that project you the most if you're feeling this? So I
Hmm.
was just showing different drawings, and I already know that which art style they were using because I have that on hand and say, "Hey, do you feel good with this?" No, no, no. That's not so good. That's really terrifying. Okay, so these really bad emotions. So I was just doing my own tagging, and at the end, we ended up with three specific styles. So what's pretty cool because if you want to check that out, I have a YouTube channel in which I go more into detail, but it shows you the output, the final output. So there was one person that was drawing. It was like Sith from the Ice Age. I don't know, remember what is that?
Yes,
It's like a sleepy. It's not it's perezoso. I just forgot the
a
name.
sloth.
A sloth. Thank you.
A sloth. Sid.
So he was drawing Sith the sloth, and he was like, okay, he's just like drinking something in the beach, and he put a lot of detail on everything he was drawing on that specific environment. At the end, I told him, hey, I want you to start feeling angry. I don't know why, but just start feeling angry. I was just telling him a lot of things, just bothering him. The device was telling me, hey, he's feeling angry. So, hey, just let's generate something with this emotion. And it was really Zack Snyder's laugh, you know? So the thing that was generated from that was like, okay, you get your output, but your emotion is also transforming the way you are projecting. So when you are looking at the slot, it was really terrifying. You were like, oh god,
Wow.
this is really really raw. And I was
Yeah.
saying, okay, calm down, bro. Everything is okay. Don't worry. I was just bothering you. I was just wanting to create something with your emotions. And I just showed the slot, and he was like laughing it out. So it transformed to another emotion. I was like, okay, I will use it. I placed it to the device. And then I got another slot, which was more cartoony, was more like funny, was even happy. The other one was not even happy. So your emotion was also transforming the output. So
Wow.
long story short, at the end, what we tried to do was, okay, once you created something that is from your own emotions, from your own hand, not only placing things on Midjourney like, hey, create me this and create an NFT. No, it was more like, okay, you're creating something from your own, something that you can use later to create, I don't know, bracelets, or let's say sneakers, or a house, or whatever you want. So let's say that
Mhm.
that's yours. That's how you can use NFTs. So let's just put that in the blockchain. Say, yeah, that's from you. That's one sketch that you created with my device. It's not yours, bro.
Forever. Yep.
And yeah, that's everything. So that was my project, one of the projects, because some crazy bro said in that some of them were able to do two projects. My bad. I should never have say that for them. So they placed me two projects, but one of it had to do with the BMI stuff, which was the most exciting thing for me. It was like,
Mhm.
okay, my top over the top, and the la crema innata, we say in Spanish, and
Mhm.
really cool, that taught me and allowed me to gain a spot in that company for the next scholarship. So they told me, hey, we are really impressed because you managed to create two projects in time. Both of them work, and you use everything that was on this specific scholarship. Would you mind if we consider you for mentorship next time we do one? And I was like, no, of course not. Please do so.
Yeah.
And that won me the second travel to Japan. That was on March, I believe, March or April this year. And then I went to Japan, and I was teaching people how to use ethical AI, large language models, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow, Chris. Like your
Nice.
experience here is just really amazing. So we might need to do another hour for another episode.
We yeah, we need you back,
Right?
Mr. Galleta.
Thank
Great
you.
job on project
Yeah,
one. Great job on project two. You might need to have you come
you,
back and do
you
an
just you
episode
just gave
two of
us some crumbs. We want
yeah,
more.
little crumbs of information here that we have to live with for now. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's coming to the end of the hour, and great experience. Great
Mhm.
hearing you describe all your process there, because it will entice other people to say, I want to find a direction in life. I want to get to somewhere where I feel creative. I feel like I'm in control of, my imagination, my creativity. Um, One of the things that we focus on this podcast is military veterans, military guys that are in
Mhm.
service right now, and they're transitioning now to get out to the civilian world. And as they do, they're looking for directions. They're looking for the ways to capture what they've experienced and take that to the next level outside the uniform, right? So I'm hoping that as people are listening, they're able to understand what you just articulated and how
Mhm.
important that is. Because, like I said, what we are working towards right now is the stepping stool for the next level of innovation, next level of who we are as humanity. What it is that the next generation will experience is off of our little crumbs of work, because they will actually do a lot more than what we have done so far. And
Mhm.
I know we have done massive amount of tasks with the hardware, the software, and then putting those hardwares and software together using energy that is generally not necessarily generating from coal power or solar power, whatever the case is. So this energy, software, and hardware combined needs to have an evolution, and every crumbs or every little piece of work that we're working on right now will come together in hardware, software, and source of energy. And I think you mentioned all these things between hardware and software, right? And like you mentioned what an exoskeleton can do to a human body if somebody was to put it on. And
Mhm.
then, if you look it up on YouTube, you can find the video of the exoskeleton that skips a spine that is damaged in order to communicate with the rest of the spine, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are some of those things you're talking about. That's
Yeah.
AI, that's machine learning, that's data processing in real time, fast enough to move a skeleton. So that way, a paraplegic person literally can walk around wearing an exoskeleton. So, and that's hardware and software combined using battery powers making things happen. And if you're further interested in the topic of MRI machine that reads the brain, and from reading the brain it can articulate an image that's inside the brain,
Yeah.
or lyrics of a music
Hmm.
with almost high accuracy, right? Able
Yeah.
to describe what the lyrics of the music is that is being listened to using Chat GPT and Chat GPT 3.5, right? Um, so the everything you mentioned, Chris, I really really want to thank you and applaud you for bringing that up to the surface, because it could be a military veteran, or it could be a startup, which we also encourage the startups to get behind these capabilities, to say how do we capture these possibilities today, so as we grow as a startup we are the dominant one who's able to provide these services as a startup, right? Because every company had to make a decision, and that small decision is what created to be an enterprise level sooner than later. Um, I just want to end with this piece right here, what you mentioned about all those things that you mentioned, that experience of growing things from just a small idea to a big idea that everybody will adopt to, right? Um, you have to have the right hardware to deliver what you're delivering. And don't let that be the reason you back away from what it is that you're working on, right? The hardware that we have today, uh, that's what's limiting us right now, right? Once we have the hardware that we actually need, the semiconductor chips, that the box that will process this information and process this information in fast time using nanotechnology, not necessarily a box that you can hold in your hand, but box that you can only imagine that's inside of your hardware somewhere else, right? The hardwares are very small in coming features. So if you're thinking about software today and you're thinking, well, I don't have the hardware, well, don't let the hardware stop you from what it is that you're trying to achieve, because the hardware that we have today didn't exist 30 years ago, just like hardware we have today will not exist 30 years from now or even 5 years from now, right? That's my estimate. The 5 years from now we will have different sort of hardwares that we couldn't even fathom just 5 years ago, right? So I'll leave it at that. And if, as you can tell, Chris, I am super thrilled from hearing everything you have to say. But ay,
Oh,
Lucky.
thank you.
What do you have to say? What do
Well,
you think?
I'll keep it short, man. Today was been a great day, Mr. Galleta, Chris. Ay, 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 ay. I think this is a great day, and a lot of good information provided for us and for people that are going to be watching this podcast. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks to you for inviting me here. So it was a pleasure.
Chris, we'll see you next time. Thank you, buddy.
All right.
Sure, we'll see you. Thank you so much.